So I think if you've tasted those four wines, you can really see that they're all extremely high quality wines, and the producers of the two European wines are really highly regarded producers. Extremely so. The white wine is a total cult wine, and Via Gracis is just on the top of the heap of Ribera del Duero producers. I mean, you try the four wines together, I think they all could easily belong on the same table. And I think that's the point I'd like to make today, is that Arizona wine and Arizona culinary skills are reaching the level that is becoming certainly to be on the stage of the world. We should really promote that. And we have one of the absolute pioneers with us here, Pavle Milic from F&B Restaurant, who took a tremendously courageous step to promote Arizona wine. And I'd like for Pavle to discuss if we have a culinary identity in Arizona, what that would be, and also how that is a symbiotic relationship with Arizona wine, that the two have to be promoted together, both in restaurant and in events like this, to sort of, progress.
Jesus. If anybody deserves the applause, is those two guys over there. I'm just curious, for the sake of knowing you, raise your hand if you have had Arizona wine in the past. Oh, Jesus, never mind. Our job is done, man, here. Just to give you a little bit of background, I opened up a restaurant. Is this loud enough for everybody in the back? Okay, good. I opened up a little restaurant about a year and a half ago. And when we first opened up the restaurant, we had a very small list that had, wines from all over the world. I had just returned from wine country, from Napa Valley, and I lived there for about 3 years. And the operating standard in most restaurants is that, you do carry the bounty of the local terroir, the winemakers from Napa and the wine lists. So when I came back, I remember that before I moved to Napa, I had Arizona wine. And in fact, it was some of Kent's wines. And I'm going to point out the obvious. It's probably one of the best winemakers, one of that we have in the state. And I remember really enjoying the wine in the past. But of course, when I moved back to Napa, I forgot all about Arizona wine. Sort of, it was, So when I came back, it was just an issue of what David was talking about, an identity or culinary identity pertaining to Arizona or the wines. In terms of an operating standard, a lot of restaurants in town say that they try to source local, organic, and sustainable products whenever possible. And I'm not saying that they don't. When it comes to the food, that's becoming actually a movement or a direction that a lot of people are actually beginning to subscribe by. I happened to just pose a question one day, and I said, I wonder if we have enough well-made wine in Arizona to compose a list. So for the following week, I reached out to people like Kent and Todd, and distributing companies, David being one of them that was representing Kent back in the day. And I embarked on a research and development project, and for a week I tasted Arizona wine, and I remember giving backhanded compliments, and I was somewhat surprised by the level of quality. So for a week we just did a little experiment, and I blinded guests on Arizona wine without telling them what it was, and I told them that if they can guess what it is, that I would buy them something, so I didn't have to buy anything for anyone, thank God. Anyway, so talking about operating standard, at F&B we do try to, of course, source local, organic, and sustainable produce and meats whenever possible. I felt that there was a small disconnect with beverage programs in town, and right now Arizona, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ken and Todd, I think we have over 50 federally bonded and licensed wineries. So I felt, I didn't think I was reinventing the wheel really when I decided to showcase Arizona wines, but I thought, why not, if I live here, represent and table these wines that we have in our community. I thought, I'm in food and beverage, and when we try wine, this guy, especially these two guys, are one of the best well-drunk, well, hold on a second. They drink a lot of wine from all over the world, and they're very, very, very knowledgeable. So for those of us in the industry, it's always so much fun to encounter and taste something new, something that's compelling, something that's distinctive. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with drinking Colgan for $1,200 a bottle in a restaurant, a cold Cabernet from California, or that there's anything wrong with having Costa Brown Pinot, but isn't it cool to actually go to a place that, especially here in Arizona, that we have all these great wines, and you have the opportunity to, at the lowest common denominator, say that, you know, you've had Arizona wine and you have an opinion about them. And I think anymore, after a year and a half of operations, I really don't have to work at selling Arizona wine. There's been a huge change that now there's a lot of people that embrace what we're doing locally. So in terms of identity, for us at FMB, it's just it's basically marrying the way that we source with both. Hello. It's marrying both the idea of sourcing both food and beverage locally. And I won't bore you with all the reasons as to why you should. That's a personal operating standard.